friend and let him know he was completely revealed in his story. Although the part I'm going to read you now, that boy does not know I wrote about him at all. So, and although my sister does, so I think I'm just going to jump right to the sexy part, right? Maggie liked Sarah Lehman, respected her, even admired her. But Maggie was obsessed with Matthew, the kind of obsession that is a preoccupation, that is like an occupation, so there is no leftover energy to worry about where it came from or where it's going. All brain power generally allotted to analysis is taken up with the insatiable fueling of that obsession. Lying in bed before she fell asleep, exhausted by swim practice and whatever homework had kept her up till midnight, Maggie would channel her obsession. She would let her mind begin dreaming before she entered the stage of rapid eye movement, before she fully lost control of her waking consciousness. She would take control of her dreaming and make it work for her, like a film director creating a movie in which she was both the scriptwriter and the leading actor. Like all mind skills, lucid dreaming requires practice and hyper-concentration. And it could only work if the dream was realistic. The setting and situation had to be familiar and credible. For instance, in her lucid dream, she couldn't run into Matthew on a beach somewhere in the Bahamas or in a vineyard in Italy, even though that was certainly tempting. Maggie loved the movie French Kiss with Meg Ryan and Kevin Kline. Even suspect coincidences were limited. For instance, bumping into Matthew at the mall or on the street outside her house was not allowed. It had to be very close to possible. The more complicated and unpredictable, the more likely to actually occur, the better. Maggie could feel her body slipping into the fantasy, into the lucidity. She could feel the roughness of his hands when he grabs her. She can create the pulse of his blood when he holds her. She can feel his breath on her neck when he stands very close to her. And best of all, in her lucid dreaming, she doesn't have to ask herself or answer to anyone why she is with him, why he is watching her as closely as she watches him. He smells like beer and cigarettes. He talks about nothing but girls and wrestling and monster trucks. He is everything Maggie is not. He is her self-inflicted wound. It is precisely his hollowness and lack of responsibility that draws her to him. And in her bed, alone at night, it is what draws him to her, until deep, restful sleep finally takes over. The chance fire drill that brought Maggie and Matthew together probably would have been too contrived for lucid dreaming, but not for real life. You're Maggie. Everyone, teachers, students, administrators, stood somewhere on the grass and behind the faculty parking lot. The signal to return to school hadn't been sounded and was long past the normal 6 minutes, so teachers had given up trying to corral students into lines and keep them quiet. The firefighters and police had already run into the building and were filing out leisurely, so there clearly was no emergency, but no one had yet been allowed back inside. You're my little sister's friend, right? I saw you at the house the other day. Yeah, Maggie answered. You're on the girls' swim team, aren't you? That would be me. Maggie had isolated herself on the grass at the far end by the parking lot. Julie was probably all the way on the other side of the school. She had gym this period, which led out by the main parking lot and the tennis courts. It keeps you in nice shape, Matthew said. His hair was dark, but his eyes were light. He was so close that Maggie could see his eyelashes and his freckles and the size and shape of his teeth when he spoke. She suddenly became so aware of her own face, every blemish, dot, and asymmetrical arrangement of her features. But he had told her she had a nice shape. What exactly was he looking at? Her waist, her shoulders, her ass? In lucid sleep state, she would have been able to answer coyly. If you say so, Maggie said. She licked her lips. They felt dry. She untucked her hair from behind her ears. It was uncomfortable, and a second later she tucked it back again. It was more uncomfortable. So what are you doing this weekend? Matthew asked her. What are you doing tonight? Tonight? It was Friday, and her parents were going out early, taking the twins to dinner at a kiddie show in the city. Bless you. Maggie had known about it for weeks, and Julie was supposed to come over, but just this morning, Julie had told Maggie that her mom needed her home. I'm sorry, Maggie, Julie texted during the first period. I can't come over tonight. So Maggie would be alone in that empty house. This was a sign, wasn't it? Like a symbol in a dream. I'm home by myself tonight, Maggie told Matthew quickly, too quickly. thinking but not thinking, knowing she was presenting a possibility without really having to decide if she wanted to or not. My parents are going out, so maybe I'll stop by, Matthew said. Maggie neglected to mention any of this to Julie after everyone trucked back inside for the remaining half an hour of the school day, during which no one, either students nor teachers, felt motivated to do any schoolwork. Matthew's maybe visit seemed to slip Maggie's mind during swim practice as well, and by the time evening approached, the window of opportunity to blow the whole thing by her best friend had long since passed. He probably wouldn't show up anyway, so what was the